Hmm. Thank you. I thought the way to, start this whole thing, at least in my opinion. Okay, so, hello everyone. Okay, just let me, take this down. And let's see, take the other one down. Take this down, of course, because it's just so we cannot have that. But if you want to know why those were there in the first place, that was mainly because I decided it was, I wanted to make a thumbnail, right? And basically, in the thumbnail, Endgame is going to be an F tier. Batman and Robin's going to be an S tier in the thumbnail. Because I know that'll draw people in, because it's the only way I can get anyone to watch these things. So, yeah, if you want to know why, that's why. Because I know it's going to anger the people. It's the only reason. So gonna take this a second to start and just let me get some things done real quick, and then we'll get this thing going. We'll get it going. Beatboxing now. I wasn't beatboxing, huh? Marvel declines you from being sponsored. I mean, yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Also, I've been getting copyright claims on pretty much every single one of my videos, by the way. I don't think I've had a video in the last 4 months that hasn't had a copyright claim. Even like my Machine Gun Kelly video was blocked in certain countries, so that's fun. This video also was blocked because I was using the MCU theme song. Yeah, I was using that. And let's just say, Disney did not like that I was using the MCU, intro. So because of that, they decided to block my video. Yeah, I was using. Sorry. Oh, is that my call? And let's just say, Disney did not like that I was using the MCU. Okay, it's a bit loud. Let me turn it down for you guys. Okay, hopefully that's better. Let me see that. Intro. For you guys. Okay, hopefully that's better. Okay, that is not better at all. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit more. Hopefully that's good. Intro. Okay, hopefully that's better. Okay, that is not better at all. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit more. Hopefully that's good. Okay, yeah, this sounds awful. I'm just gonna keep it to where it was because it's not as bad, I guess. I don't know. It sounds bad no matter what, to be honest. Okay, so I'm just gonna share this video with a couple of people, so people end up watching this and hopping in. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start the video, because it just makes it more interesting to have people in here before and then to do it. Also, I'm gonna ping everyone because in my own server because I can do that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how well that's gonna happen. Oh, Olivier just posted his video. Okay, yeah, no, I can't compete with that. I can't compete with that. God dang it, Olivier. Why do you have to post your amazing high quality content when I'm posting my very low quality live stream? high quality videos about giving away 500,000 worth of MCU movies. Yeah, that's hilarious. Okay, I guess we'll just get started anyways, because no one's probably going to join this, even if I do share it with a ton of people, because, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It does not. But, okay, so I guess we should get this started, and we'll look at I've not seen 300, so I'm just going to put that in haven't seen. Obviously, makes sense. I think that's understandable. Avengers Age of Ultron. Oh my gosh. This is disaster. This is a bad movie. On every single level, we're gonna put this movie at D tier because I feel like it and because it deserves to be a D tier. 1 second, I'm gonna turn my camera on because the camera brings in the views. No, it doesn't. Okay, we're gonna turn this thing on. Okay, there we go. Now that we have this thing on, okay. Now that we got this thing on, okay, D tier. The reason why I would put this thing in D tier is a lot of it has to do with how it's just so mediocre in so many ways. It just doesn't really feel like we didn't really care that much about this movie or that much effort in a way was put into it. It just didn't feel like the original Avengers movie, the first one, where there was so much, enjoyment, so much fun and care. This one just kind of felt like a very surface level movie with not as much enjoyment as the first one. Also, Ultron was kind of an embarrassment in this movie. It's not exactly an awful movie. It's just a movie that doesn't have much to offer, and because of that, I have to put it in D tier. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Absolutely nothing to say about this movie. Both the Ant-Man movies are the most okay products in existence. C tier. Okay, now that is out of the way. Batman and Robin. Obviously, this masterpiece has to go in S tier. No, obviously, it's going in F tier. I don't need to explain why this movie goes in F tier, because it just goes in F tier, It's kind of like, the rules of society, in a way. You have to put this movie in F tier. If you don't, you're either trolling or have no taste. So, yeah, that's just how it goes. Endgame. Now, I know I have a very controversial opinion on Endgame. I love so much about this movie. The conclusion is fantastic. Tony Stark and Captain America's arcs are absolutely jaw-droppingly phenomenal. They're both great in every single way, and I absolutely love them for that. However, there are so many problems with this movie, whether it's Thor, Black Widow, Hulk, Hawkeye, whether it's Thanos being such a bland cookie-cutter villain after him being so great. Then you get to some really just dumb stuff sometimes here and there. And I have to put it, I know everyone's going to get really mad at me for putting it in the same tier as Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I have to put it in the same tier because for me, it is such a mixed bag in so many ways because there is so much I love about this movie, so much I adore, but at the same time, there's so much I do not like about this movie. There's so many great things. The payoff is fantastic. Once again, Toy Story's Captain America's arcs were fantastic. But then you get to the stuff with Hawkeye being a killer. It does not work for me in the slightest. Black Widow was pretty boring and disappointing in this movie. The Hulk was an absolute disgrace. Thor was also embarrassing. Then there's then Thanos is so bland in this movie. And I understand they're trying to focus more on the heroes, but you gotta at least focus on both. At least make Thanos, somewhat of the character we knew him to be in Infinity War. It just felt like they completely, pushed away from him. So because of that, I have to put it in C tier. I know everyone's going to be mad at me, but it goes in C tier, in my opinion. It's kind of sad. There's only one person that's been talking this entire time in the entire live stream. But yeah, these things don't do very well. You're streaming to one person. Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. How is Ant-Man better than Ultron? Because it's just not bad. That's the only reason. Ant-Man is so okay in every way. Endgame is so boring for the first 2 hours. This one I would disagree with. I don't think Endgame is boring. I think it's a very, very entertaining movie throughout it. In fact, that's probably one of the biggest positives you could give the movie because it is 3 hours and it feels like an hour and a half. It's that good at what it does. I disagree with this take wholeheartedly. I had a blast with it, you know? Even if I'm putting it in C tier, I still think there's a lot of good things about it. I still think it's a fun time. So next one is the other Ant-Man, which is also going to go in C tier because just like Ant-Man and the Wasp is insanely okay on almost every level. It's just shocking. Okay, now Aquaman. This is another movie that is going to go in C tier, and I'll tell you why. Because if anything, I'd compare Aquaman to the Ant-Man movies, except for it's more out there and more fun. I think that's how I would describe it. Because it's a very fun, outlandish, and enjoyable movie. However, that doesn't really make it bad, but it doesn't really make it good either. It's got some fun and enjoyable visuals and such, but it's not exactly a movie that is really good or masterpiece level, but it's also not a god-awful piece of garbage, so it goes in C tier because of that. Now, Batman Begins. I just realized I haven't had anything above C tier yet. Batman Begins, I don't know if I should... I'm not really going to count the S plus tier because I feel like that kind of just... kind of throws everything off. So I think we're just going to, just forget this exists. And S tier is just going to be the masterpiece level or whatever. So I think I'm going to put Batman Begins in A tier. And I'll tell you why. This is one of the best origin stories of all time, in my opinion. I feel like the way they have it told non-linear is brilliantly. It's so well done. It's so well crafted. And in a way, it connects in such a perfect way that's so shocking. Also, Batman's origin alone is fantastic. Seeing him grow as this, from this boy that lost his parents to this person that is trying to help people and trying to become a hero. It's such a great story. It's such a great origin story. Seeing it all, fleshed out and such is fantastic. It is so good in my opinion. Also, Ra's al Ghul, I remember him being a pretty good villain. I don't remember why, I just remember him being pretty good. So yeah, Batman Begins is an A-tier movie. It's really great. Some people really underrate this movie sometimes, and some people kind of overrate this movie sometimes, but it's really great. A-tier. Our next one is Batman Forever. I've not seen this movie in a very long time. I don't remember it being very good, but I don't remember it being awful. I'll put it in D tier. It was a movie that was pretty bad, but I don't know how much I can really judge off of that because it's been so long since I've watched it. Next, we got Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which I do not care what you say about this movie. I'm putting it, not in B tier, I'm putting it in A tier. Another A tier, great movie in my opinion. I feel like what's so great about this movie is, it gets Batman more than a lot of Batman movies are able to get him and understand him. I love the tragic love story between him and, of course, the Phantasm. I forgot the girl's name, which is kind of sad. But seeing Bruce finally find love, finally being able to find someone he cares for and loves so much, and then unfortunately seeing and realizing how he can't really have that love. How the only way he can really be the Batman is if he's broken and, sad in a way. Of course, I'm not really describing it that well, but it's a very depressing tale. It's a very tragic tale, and it shows the reality of how Batman can't really be happy if he's going to still be the Batman. Bruce Wayne cannot be Batman if he's happy. That's the sad reality of it, and because of that, he ends up being alone. It's sad, but also it's accurate to who the Batman is. It's, it understands Batman so much more than a lot of Batman movies are able to understand him, and I appreciate it. So much for that. I have to put it in A tier. It's a great movie. Batman Returns. Now, this is a movie that definitely has some weird problems here and there. It can be kind of wonky. It can be kind of odd. It can be kind of, peculiar in a lot of ways. But I'm considering B tier or A tier. I don't know if I'm being too generous with, the amount of A tiers I'm giving. But also at the same time, it's such a good, fun time. And I love so many things about it. It's so hard. It's so difficult. I think I'm gonna put it. It's either just barely an A tier or a very high B tier. I don't know where to put it. Let me look at the chat for a second. If there's anybody that's actually here. Yeah, there's like no one that's here. Endgame takes longer than my homework. Okay. And still a fun movie. Aquaman is amazing. Batman just sweeping A tier. Yeah, it pretty much is. I'm going to be honest. There's some great Batman movies out there. And there might be another one that might be going in it. I don't know. I feel like part of it is entertainment. So, I'm putting an A tier. I don't care. I know pretty much every Batman movie right now is an A tier. Don't worry, there is one that is an S tier. But that is not that one. Batman Returns is a very gothic movie that has a lot of, problems with it. Not really, actually, it doesn't have that many problems with it. It can be really weird and odd sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't work. But most of the times, it works in its favor, and it's very bizarre and interesting and fascinating. I really do, for the most part, like the Penguin. I feel like it works, except for the whole him being like a penguin, being deformed, that stuff. Like him being a literal penguin, that stuff is kind of weird. Sometimes it didn't really work for me. I love Selena Kyle in this movie, as in Michelle Pfeiffer, as Catwoman. She does a phenomenal job. She is the Catwoman, and out of all three of them that we've had, she's by far the best. Michael Keaton does a pretty good job being Batman, I think. And also, it's a very tragic story, seeing how even though Batman really loves Catwoman and wants to be happy with her, the truth and the reality is that they can't be together because they're two completely different people. It's the same thing with Batman Mask the Phantasm, except for it's in live action form. And it's in a lot of ways a little bit more fascinating with the way things are portrayed. So because of that alone, I gotta put an A tier. It's a really great movie. It's very underrated. I think it's like probably the most underrated Batman movie. Now we have the original Batman. Now I know this was a movie that used to be in my favorites list and I used to really love it. But now I have to put it in C tier because I've kind of realized this movie has a lot of problems with it when it comes down to how the Joker and the Batman don't really have anything connected with one another. The Joker is just pretty much a crime boss, even if Jack Nicholson does a phenomenal job playing him. Michael Keaton is not nearly as interesting of a Batman as, how Batman is. He just seems very, mindless. And the whole idea that, of him, that the fact that I don't like the idea that the Joker killed Batman's parents. I feel like there shouldn't really be in times like that. I don't think that works. It doesn't work for me, in my opinion. So, yeah, overall, there's some great things about the visuals are fantastic. The score is jaw-dropping. Jack Nicholson's great. Michael Keaton's really good. But it just lacks the substance of Batman for it to be, a great Batman movie. All right, Batman v Superman. I don't really know if I can really judge this movie. I'm going to put it in haven't seen because I saw this movie a very long time ago. And I don't really remember it that well, so we're just going to put in here. One thing I do not understand, however, is I don't think... Is this even a comic book movie? Is Big Hero 6 actually based on comic books? You know what? I don't know if I can also rate this because is Big Hero 6 truly... I don't think it's a comic book movie. I think it's just a superhero movie, my guy. So because of that, I think we're going to have to put it in haven't seen because I don't think it's a comic book movie. I don't know why it's on here. It's confusing to me. Let's see. Is Big Hero 6 a comic book movie? Oh no, it is. Oh no, it's based on a comic book. It's also made by this. I did not know. It's made by Marvel Comics. So because of that, we're gonna have to place it somewhere. Now I've not seen Big Hero 6 in a long time, but from what I remember, it's pretty fun. I'll give it a B tier. I remember it being, a movie that had some pretty good characters, had some pretty fun animation, some decent emotions, and I just remember it being a good time. So because of that, it goes in B tier. Okay, what is this? What is? Oh, this is Birds of Prey. I didn't realize that for a second. Okay, this movie might have a lot of problems with it. Maybe you think otherwise. I don't care. It's going in A tier. It's going in A tier. This movie is a complete blast in almost every way, shape, or form. Harley Quinn is so fun. I love Black Mask in this movie. It's just such a fun, vibrant time. Also, I really think the visuals are fun and enjoyable. The choreography is really good. Maybe on a technical standpoint, it would probably be in B tier, but I loved it so much. I enjoy so much about this movie. I have to put it in A tier alone because of how fun it is. Okay, Black Panther. Now, Black Panther is a movie that has, I'd say, I'm not going to put it in F tier. What the heck am I doing? I'm just checking the camera real quick. Okay, Black Panther. I feel like I have to put it in C tier or B tier. I think I'm gonna put it in B tier because the thing is, Black Panther isn't like an insanely mixed bag like Endgame or Batman, but it's also not an insanely okay movie that doesn't really have a ton of it that stands out like Aquaman or the Ant-Man movies. I think there's some things about it that stand out really well. It doesn't have a ton of problems, so I'm gonna put it Black Panther in B tier. Black Panther, I think, is a really fun movie. Not really, actually, that fun doesn't really describe it. Why did I say it was fun? It's not fun. I really do appreciate, the whole racial, stuff, the whole political ideologies with the movie. I didn't really pick it up the first time I watched it, and I didn't really, understand until someone brought it up to me. And maybe, I need to rewatch the movie because I don't really understand that part of it. But maybe I kind of can see it a little bit. There's definitely some stuff here and there. I think I need to rewatch it to understand and appreciate that part of the movie. Also, Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan, is by far the best thing about this movie. He is such a fantastic actor. He gives such a great performance in this film. I love him so much. He does a great job, and he's one of the best MCU villains. However, I do not like Chadwick Boseman in this movie's T'Challa. Maybe I need to rewatch it, but I remember him being so still framed, boring, and I just couldn't really relate with his character at all. He just didn't really seem like a relatable character, and I don't think Chadwick Boseman really did, that great of a job at making him an interesting character. But also, there wasn't really much he could have done because the script wasn't really, that great. Of course, rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman. I just didn't really like him as Black Panther in this movie, and also I didn't really like the way they wrote him because he just didn't seem very interesting or relatable in any way. So because of that, I have to put it in B tier. Big Hero 6 is better than Endgame. According to my list, yes, it is. According to my list, it is. But also, Endgame has way better stuff. The thing is, the Endgame, when it comes down to it, there's so many, stuff that's way better than stuff like Big Hero 6 or Black Panther. The problem is it has so many problems, it's hard for me to rank it any higher than C tier. I've not seen the Blade movies at all. I watched one of them and then fell asleep during it before, I could watch the whole thing. So because of that, I'm going to put them all in haven't seen. Okay, Captain America, the First Avenger. I love this movie to death. I think it is so underrated when it comes down to it. There are so many underrated things about the movie. No one ever says this movie's great, even though it's an A tier. Even though it is an A tier movie, it's one of the best comic book movies of all time. At least probably top 50-ish, around there. Nobody talks about how great this movie truly is. It's an amazing story. I love the origin of Captain America. Seeing him push forward and become this superhero from the skinny boy that had this, idea or this dream of being a soldier to becoming a soldier. And seeing him become and transform into that and learn to be a leader is so good. I love that about it. Also, just seeing the story unfold. And it's such a tragic love story, which you can kind of realize, interestingly enough, 3 out of 5 of the A tier movies in here are tragic love stories. Maybe Birds of Prey kind of counts, but not really. But the whole tragedy behind it is so sad. And I love when the MCU movies, they focus more on just being comic book films. That's why I love Captain America Civil War so much. It's because it's a lot like a political movie. This movie also in a lot of ways it's a tragic war movie. It's a tragic, love story that takes place in World War II. And I love it for that. It makes it feel different, makes it feel unique. And that, like I said, the ending's so tragic. Captain America's arc is great. It's such a great introduction to this character. This movie is the second best movie in Phase 2. Changed my mind. I mean, Phase 1. It's the second best movie in Phase 1. Changed my mind. There's nothing else that really compares with this, besides the Avengers. So that's just my opinion, but I love it. I've not seen the old Captain America movies. You'll see a lot of old comic book movies on here that I've not seen. So yeah, Captain Marvel. Okay, you're not here, but you're definitely here. So, yeah, Captain Marvel is one of the most shockingly bland and lifeless movies I think I have ever seen in my entire life. Brie Larson is so still framed to boring, but also they didn't do much in the dialogue department with her character. So there's also that. I think, she just doesn't really do a good job with her character, and the dialogue doesn't work. So overall, she just feels like a very bland character. At the beginning, we don't even really know or understand her very well, and even once we get to know what she is and who she is, she's still not very good. She's still not a very good character. You still don't really care about her like at all. Also, what they did with Nick Fury in this movie, how he lost his eye, obviously it's an embarrassment. Most people acknowledge how Okay, so now we're back again. I apologize for the wait, even though there's like one person that's actually watching this, so it doesn't really matter anyways. Okay, now let's go back to this thing, and then we'll share it. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to see where we left off and where it started to freeze at. Amazing story. I love the origin of Captain America. Also, in a lot of ways, okay. I think, the character, and the dialogue doesn't work. So overall, she just feels like a very bland character. At the beginning, we don't even really know or understand her very well. What they did with Nick Fury in this movie, how he lost his eye. Okay, so basically we were at Captain Marvel. Yeah, it's pretty bland, boring movie. Overall, just D tier. Just a D tier movie. Feels like it, It definitely is overall just a D tier movie. There's nothing else to really, argue that with. It's just D tier. I've now seen Catwoman, and I do not intend on doing that. Okay, now we get to the good stuff. Another, really great
MCU movie. This one is going to be our very first, not D tier, is going to be the very first S tier of this live stream. I absolutely love Captain America Civil War, and while there's problems with it, yeah. Actually, wait, I mean, A is supposed to be 9 out of 10. So, do I put it in S tier? Because I do have a problem with it. I'm going to put it in A tier. I was going to put it in S tier, but then I realized I have issues with it. But, anyways, talking about the movie, Captain America Civil War has so many great things about it. It's this whole political battle. That's what the movie is. It's a battle of politics, pretty much, throughout the film. And there's two different parties. You know, you got the Republicans and you got your Democrats. And also, here's the election. So, perfect movie, perfect timing, MCU. But also, when it comes down to it, it makes sense because there's this whole under government watch. Captain America, of course, is not going to like this idea because he doesn't really trust governments. He doesn't really trust them after what happened in Winter Soldier. Of course, Tony, after what happened in Age of Ultron, he feels responsible, so of course he's going to want to join sides with the government. And it's this whole endless battle between the two, and it's so great. It's so well done. And you understand both sides. You understand why certain people would be on certain sides besides these two. It's not like they're just on a certain side just because. It just makes I feel like my only problem with this movie is that there's no build up the stakes. It would build up the tension a lot more in this movie, but they didn't really do that. So it kind of feels low stakes, which is why I have to put an A tier. Still fantastic movie. Still one of the best MCU movies. Still one of the best comic book movies. But I have to put an A tier because I can't put it in S tier because I just have a pretty big problem with it. Constantine I have not seen, but it's probably not very good. Same with Daredevil. All right, we got The Dark Knight Rises. Now, I think this is like the first DC movie besides, actually, no, Batman, never mind. But I think this is going to be like one of the first DC movies that I'm going to have to put in C tier. I think I'm going to have to, I have to either put it in C tier or B tier. That's actually a tough one. I think I'm going to put it in C tier because I do have problems with it. It's a very messy movie, and it can be pretty all over the place at times. I feel like there's just too many plot points, like at certain times of the movie. Also, I really hate Bane's voice in this film. It just doesn't work for me, like, at all. I feel like when it comes down to this being a conclusion, it feels kind of clunky, and it feels like they tried to go too big, you know? Like, why not make it a little bit more small scale, you feel me? But yeah, Bane's a pretty good villain. I do like him a decent amount. And yeah, I feel like when it comes down to the movie as a whole, there isn't a lot of like things I really love about it. It's just the scale's pretty cool, and that's it. I feel like it lacks the substance that Begins had, and what the movie probably that is going to be next had as well. So yeah, then we get The Dark Knight. S tier. I could go on and on, gush about this movie for a billion hours. The only thing I want to really actually talk about that no one seems to talk about is how Christian Bale's pretty underrated in this movie. I think he's really great. Harvey Dent's also really great. It's just a great overall masterpiece. I understand people think that maybe, Heath Ledger carries the show. I don't think he's the only one that makes this movie great. It's just great, okay? Sometimes, even if one thing is great, that doesn't mean it's the only thing that's great about a movie. It's just a great movie. Okay, Dark Phoenix. I mean, I did watch it technically, but I skimmed through it way too much, and I don't really qualify that as a viewing, so I'm going to put it in haven't seen. Deadpool 2 I haven't seen. Deadpool 1, however, I have seen, and it's an absolute blast and one of the best fun times I've ever had. So because of how fun, enjoyable, and how much of an absolute, ride it is, I have to put an A tier for that because it's just so great in that regard. Doctor Strange. I think there's some really great things about Doctor Strange. I really like the visuals. I really like the ending. The whole third act is so unique and so different, especially for the MCU. And I think Doctor Strange had a pretty good backstory. However, I thought some things about it were kind of bland. The villain wasn't very enjoyable. Sometimes the movie overall wasn't very enjoyable. It's just a pretty good movie, you know? I feel like that's the thing about Doctor Strange. It's not really, anything like that's masterpiece level like A tier or really, really masterpiece level like S tier. Just goes in B tier. It's pretty good. Have not seen Dread. Haven't seen either of the Dread movies. Haven't seen Elektra. I watched Fantastic like once, but I don't really count that viewing. I watched the original Fantastic Four, and it was okay from what I remember. C tier. Haven't watched this one. Yeah, there's a lot of these I have not seen. There's a lot of these like really, really old Marvel movies from like the early 2000s and the late 90s and stuff like that that I've just not seen. Like there's a lot of comic movies that are going to be on here that are like that. Like I haven't seen Flash Gordon or Howard the Duck. Like movies like that I just have never seen and I have no reason to watch them. So, yeah. Spider-Man Far From Home, great movie. Actually, why did I say great movie? I don't understand why. Did I just say? I really hope that doesn't get clipped or something, or someone else does that for some reason. But yeah. Do I put it in F tier? I feel like if I put it in F tier, that's just me being very blind with hatred and just hating the movie on every account. But also it just messed up Spider-Man so much, That makes me angry. So I'm gonna put an F tier. Even though it probably doesn't deserve it that badly, I'm gonna put it in F tier anyways because it is. It just makes me that angry and frustrated. I love Spider-Man. I think he's a great, he's a great character in my opinion. So because of that, I have to I have to just. I feel like I have to do that. I just have to. I don't know why, but I just don't like the movie. I've talked about it so many times on so many tier lists, and I don't feel like talking about it right now. I have to go do something really quick. I know no one's watching this, but I'm gonna just, pause real quick and then I'll be back. Okay, hello to nobody. I'm back, and we're gonna, keep this up. So let's keep it going. I'm really only doing this because I have nothing better to do. Yeah, that's my only reason, really. Okay, so next one. Let's go. Okay, we got Far From Home. Pretty bad, overall very bland. Not really bland, but just a movie that overall made me mad because it clearly does not understand Spider-Man. It was an absolute joke and embarrassment. I've talked about why I dislike that movie so much. Not going to talk about it again. Ghost Rider movies. Haven't seen either of them. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This movie, honestly, is so bad, I'm going to put it in F tier. It is shockingly terrible. Like, on a technical aspect, in a story aspect, in a character aspect, it is fundamentally flawed in almost every single way. The story is an absolute train wreck because there really isn't a clear, concise, narrative or anything that they're trying to do. It's just them kind of standing there and doing nothing, which sometimes could be good if anything interesting was happening, but nothing in this movie interesting is happening. It just feels like there's no story at all. Like throughout most of the film. It's just them kind of messing around in space, and then big bad guy comes, and it feels so lazy. The writing in this movie is insanely lazy. Ego is a terrible villain. Kurt Russell is, not doing a terrible job, but he's just not a good villain. He's so bad and pretty much bland and boring and generic. The CGI is pretty bad and very overused. This whole idea of them attacking a planet is such a bland, generic CGI third act that anyone could come up with. This movie overall, the only thing that's kind of nice about it is occasionally the visuals look pretty cool, and Yondu is great. That is it. Every scene with Yondu is great, and he's not even the main character of the movie. So, yeah, this movie kind of sucks in almost every way. So, F tier. Guardians of the Galaxy, the original. It is shocking how big of a quality change you get from this movie to this movie. And this movie, when it comes down to it, is some A tier level stuff. It is not a masterpiece, really, but also it's a really good fun time. It is the perfect mixture of being a fun time and a really good well-made movie. The visuals are really good. I love the interactions between the characters. I feel like those interactions are some of the greatest in the MCU. It's like the Avengers, but in space and more chaotic, and I absolutely love it for that. So because of that, A tier level stuff. Okay, have not seen the 2019 Hellboy movie. I saw the second one, but I didn't finish it. I mean, I have seen the original technically, but it was so long ago, it's kind of hard to remember it. So we're also going to put that in haven't seen. There's so many movies on here that I have not watched. Well, there's a couple I have seen. It's been so long. I've not seen Hulk. This movie, I mean, I've seen it a while ago, and it was very bland, boring, and generic. I'm going to put this movie in C tier, not an F tier. Just do that really quick. Then we get to C tier. It's C tier. Okay, now we get, of course, to Avengers Infinity War, which is such a great movie. I absolutely love this film. It's like the first, I'd say it's the first MCU movie where the villain really feels like the main character. We understand Thanos so much, and we slowly understand why he became the way he is, and why, and what his goal is, and everything like that. And seeing him as this villain who clearly wants to do the right thing, who clearly is aiming to, be a great person, but also is doing something that is clearly wrong and not right, and because of that, it causes a big conflict. So also I love the ending. The ending is so good. It's such a great ending. It's so sad and tragic, but also, even if you know that they're going to come back, it doesn't matter. It truly does not matter. I love this movie for what it was able to accomplish and what it accomplished. Some A tier level stuff. I know I'm putting everything into A tier, but there are very few movies that I think should be up here in this S tier. Okay, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is a movie that very much so deserves, not to be in haven't seen, it deserves, not C tier, it deserves nothing under S tier. Everyone knows why this movie's great. Everyone Everyone knows why this movie is an absolute masterpiece in every single way, shape, or form. Everyone knows why it is pretty much perfect. The animation's amazing. The characters are amazing. It's just a perfect movie on pretty much every front. People know why it's so good. It's just a masterpiece. It's a literal masterpiece. Iron Man 2. Now we get to why is it that every time there's like a great movie, it's like there's always a bad movie right next to it. It always feels that way. But yeah, I guess we get to Iron Man 2, which is where should I put Iron Man 2? Where should I put this piece of garbage? I think I'm gonna put it. I didn't mean to move the Punisher. I don't know. We're not putting the Punisher in here. Get back down there. Iron Man 2 is going in D tier. It is a pretty bad movie, but it's not shockingly terrible, I guess. That means anything. This movie is so and blah, you know? Whiplash is in the movie, and then he disappears and is in a basement for like the rest of it. He's in the first act, and he's in the basement for pretty much the entire film. And he's not a very good villain. He's pretty generic. He's pretty bland. He's very uninteresting. All of this movie just feels messy and uninteresting. Like, I wasn't intrigued with really any of it that happens. And, yeah, just does nothing good, does nothing memorable. So because of that, it goes in D tier. Iron Man 3. This movie, maybe on a technical standpoint, isn't this bad, but I'm putting it in F tier. I cannot stand this movie. This movie aggravates me, and there's one specific reason for that. Tony has PTSD, right? From the whole thing that happened with the Avengers. And of course, I am perfectly fine with them going with, PTSD and using it like as a metaphor or like in any shape or form as anything, but they use it as a joke. They use PTSD as a joke. And this is not the only reason why I hate this movie. There's definitely a lot of reasons why, but that makes me so just filled with so much anger and frustration because that is disgusting. That is something that I feel like the MCU would be above, That is something that I feel like the MCU would understand, not to make jokes about PTSD, and maybe it's not just because I'm offended by it. It just shows the MCU really can't do much sometimes besides make, very lowbrow jokes. And this is like low. Like if you're making PTSD jokes, it's just sad. Like that's just sad, being honest. But yeah, Iron Man 3. I mean, overall, even when you take that out of it, it's still not a great movie. It's a complete mess. Tony Stark, why is he controlling so many Iron Man suits at the same time? Mandarin twist, terrible. I don't know why anyone would ever like this movie. It's way worse than Iron Man 2. It's a terrible film. The Iron Man movies get increasingly worse as they go along. Okay, then we got the original Iron Man, which, in my opinion, is actually pretty good. It's not A tier. I don't love it like a lot of people do, but I'd say it's B tier. It's a pretty good movie in my opinion. I do like it. I like the origin story for Tony, and that's the main thing I like about it. I like the standalone part and why it's a standalone movie. I love Tony Stark. He's like the only really good thing about this movie that I really, really love. Everything else is just kind of okay. I really do, don't like the villain. He's like one of the main parts that really holds this movie down for me. I think the villain is very, one-dimensional and bland. So B tier. It's pretty good. I've not seen The Joker. I've seen Joker. I probably should see it. Jonah Hex have not seen. Judge Dredd have not seen. Now, we got Justice League. Why does this movie have to exist? My gosh. I am ashamed this movie has, an existence. But we're going to put it in F tier. It's awful. It's awful. Everyone knows why it's awful. Everyone knows why it's a terrible disaster. So I'm not even going to, not going to discuss it. I've not seen the Kick-Ass movies at all. Never seen them. All right, now we got Logan. Now, Logan is a movie that everyone really loves, and people think, oh, it's so amazing. It's the greatest comic movie of all time or whatever, but it's overrated. It's F tier. No, I'm just kidding. It's not F tier. Let me scroll up a bit. It's a B tier movie. It's pretty good. I like it. There's some good things about it. I really love the whole conclusion of Logan's arc. I love the stuff with Patrick You know, Patrick Ewing, right? Yeah, Patrick Ewing. I feel like the performances are really great. I really love that element of the movie. I love Logan's conclusion. However, when it comes to the main plot that is focused on way too much, I do not care about the main plot at all. I feel like it's very one dimensional and it's very much not an interesting plot like at all. And it's focused on so much of the movie that it's hard to ignore it. So because of that, it goes in B tier. It's overrated. I do not know why people think this movie is on the level of these two films. I just don't understand it. Next is Man of Steel. Um, I mean, I remember being pretty good. Since there's so many movies I haven't seen, and a decent chunk of it I have seen and just don't remember. We'll put it in B tier. I remember being pretty good. I've now seen the original Punisher. Oh, Thor: Love and Thunder. Oh, let me tell you about Thor: Love and Thunder. It's a pretty good movie, actually. It's a pretty good film. We're gonna put it in B tier. I think it's good. I've not seen Rocket. I think it's Rocket Man or something, or whatever it's called. Rocketeer. Okay, Shazam. It's another B tier movie. I'm gonna put so many movies. So many movies are gonna end up in B tier. I feel like, but I would say Shazam is one of them. It goes in B tier. It's pretty good. It's a very fun, enjoyable movie, and I like Shazam. I think he does a very good job at emulating. The act that plays Shazam. I think it's a very good job at emulating a kid in a man's body. I just think it's a very fun movie. The third act may not be the greatest. Sometimes the tone can be insanely all over the place, but overall, it's fun. I like it. Sin City, I've not seen, but I've heard great things about, and I probably should get on to seeing it. Spawn, I have not seen. All right, Spider-Man. Love this movie to death. Love this movie. On almost every account, I adore this film. Like, I really do. I love the Raimi trilogy. And I'm going to put this movie in A tier because it is so good. It is a classic Spider-Man origin story, and it does such a great job being that, but also just being a great movie overall. The origin, of course, is great. I love the way they portray it. It does such a good job at doing that. I love the visuals. I love seeing Peter Parker grow and become a man in a way. Seeing him become the person that he is and being better. Overall, it's a very great, sometimes considerably underrated, so it's one of the best Spider-Man movies as well. It's a great film. Spider-Man 2. Now, you know what? I may have given this film a 9 out of 10, but I think it belongs on the same caliber as Spider-Verse and The Dark Knight, so I'm going to put it in S tier. Yes, I love it. I really love it. This is how much I love this film. And as you can see, I am not putting that many movies up here, surprisingly. But Spider-Man 2 is a great movie in so many ways. I love what they do with Peter Parker's character. I love, seeing him lose his powers and feel hopeless, and then seeing like why he needs to be Spider-Man, him understanding in a way, the importance of him, being Spider-Man. But also at the same time, it's ruining his life. It's ruining everything around him. He doesn't want to be Spider-Man because everything in his own life. Doc Ock is a great opening. So S tier. Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 is a pretty good movie that is absolutely a mess. It is a mess from beginning to the end, but also there's a lot of great things about it. So B tier, in my opinion. I really love the visuals. They're so great. I love the spectacle. Of course, Peter Parker's great. He has a great arc in this movie once again. Problem is, there's way too many villains and there's way too many plot lines that are so intertwined, and it's hard to focus on them. Harry has a pretty good arc, but it's so overshadowed by how messy this movie can be sometimes. Sandman was a pretty good villain, but also he doesn't get enough screen time, and it's just messy. This movie is just so messy, and while that can be great sometimes, it's not very good sometimes. Okay, now we got Spider-Man. Is this this is No Way Home, I think, right? I'm pretty sure that's Homecoming, right? Yeah, that's Homecoming. Okay, Homecoming. And Homecoming is pretty good. So we are going to put it not in D tier. No, I'm not that crazy. I'm going to put it in B tier because it's a pretty good movie. Michael Keaton absolutely carries everything about this movie, in my opinion. Tom Holland's all right, but really, Michael Keaton's what makes this movie so great. Of course, there's that "Come on, Spider-Man" scene that's really great. I love that scene. Peter Parker has a pretty good arc, but not great as great as his arc in one, or his arc in Spider-Man 2, or Miles Morales' arc in the Spider-Verse, or really, anything that qualifies to make it a great arc. So that doesn't really matter as much. Michael Keaton carries this movie from not being in C tier. That's what that's the only reason why this movie isn't in C tier is because of Michael Keaton, because he stands out so much. Have not seen Shaquille O'Neal's Steel. Suicide Squad. I honestly forgot this movie existed for a while because I saw the original. I don't think there's any comic book movies from 2021 that are actually on here, or any ones from 2021 to 2022 that are on here. Suicide Squad, I'm not going to put it in F because I don't hate it that much. I'll put it in D tier. Everyone knows why it's a bad movie. Everyone has said why it's a bad movie. I'm not going to repeat what everyone else says all the time. It's like the same thing with the best movies. I don't talk about that. Supergirl, have not seen. Superman 2, it was so long ago. I don't know if I can really judge the movie, so I'm just not going to. Well, actually, I kind of remember Superman 2. I don't really remember Superman 3, but I kind of remember Superman 2. I remember being kind of fun. So, I mean, it wasn't great. I didn't watch the Dawn Arc, which apparently is really good, but I remember being okay. Put it in C tier. Then we have Superman 3, which I do not remember at all. Wait, is this Superman 2? Oh, so I just put, which one is Superman 2? Is this the Richard cut and is this the Donner cut and the other one? I'm not going to do both of them. This is confusing me. Is that other one the fourth? Is this the fourth movie? No, it's not. What am I saying? It's not the fourth movie. Of course, okay, this is Superman Returns, and I remember being very boring and bland and just kind of overall. So because it's so I'm just going to put it in C tier with Superman 2. Superman the movie. This movie is really great. It has a fantastic origin story, and I love seeing Superman grow in this film. So because of that, I'm going to put it in A tier. Even though I don't remember it, being as great. Maybe it's because I don't remember a lot of the reasons why I remember being great. I remember it being great. So we're going to put an A tier because of that. Okay. Next one. Teen Titans Go to the Movies. This is a really fun, really enjoyable movie. It's an absolute blast in like every way, shape, and form. I don't think I should put it in A tier because I don't think it really deserves it. It's just really fun. So because of that, we're going to put it in B tier. Okay, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze. This movie, on a technical standpoint, is pretty bad, but also it is so fun, and it embraces its comic booky nature so much. I have to at least put it in B tier, bare minimum. Okay, then we got the, I've not seen the third one. I've seen the original. It was a long time ago, so I can't really judge it. This is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I mean, everyone knows this movie is pretty bad. The visuals can be pretty good sometimes, but everything else about it is pretty terrible, so we're going to have to put it in F tier. I don't really want to, stress why this movie's bad so much. It's bad. You know why it's bad. There's actually people here. I actually didn't think there would be people here. That actually surprises me. Okay, yeah, there's like nobody here. Hey, 3 people is better than no one, I guess. What is Justice League? Justice League is basically what everyone calls Justice League, except for, it's just what everyone calls, the Joss Whedon cut of Justice League. Logan is a S plus. Well, I'm not using the S plus category. I'm not gonna use it for this video. So yeah. Also, yeah, no, Logan's overrated, dude. It's overrated, man. I don't understand why people love it so much. Okay, now that we checked on the chat a bit, we're gonna go back and we're gonna speed run through this because there's a lot of them here. My gosh. Okay, yeah, The Amazing Spider-Man. I used to really love this movie for some reason, and I don't know why. But now that I've seen the movie again, I can safely say there are a lot of problems with this film. There's a lot of issues. So because of that, we're not gonna put it in here. It doesn't deserve to be in there. It deserves to be, I think, in C tier. It's a 7 out of 10 in my opinion. I think I really like the origin story. I really love Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. But then the lizard is so terrible. There's some not so good acting sometimes. The visuals can be really bad. The CGI can be really bad. The third act is really bad. So because of that, I have to put it in C tier. It's not that great as I remember it being. Okay, The Avengers. Now, on a technical standpoint, this movie isn't really that great compared to a lot of these movies when it comes to, technical aspects or whatever. But because it is so fun, because it is so entertaining, I'm going to put this movie in A tier because it is so great. It is one of the better A tiers, I think. I might rank like all of these in order specifically. You know what? I'm going to start doing that right now. Obviously, the best is The Dark Knight. No question. I think this is ordered correctly. What's the best A tier here? I can't remember. We'll do that later. We'll do this later. We'll do this when we're done. The Crow I have not seen, but I really want to see it. Haven't seen. Same with The Mask. Same with Punisher. Same with The Wolverine. Thor: The Dark World, I can't really judge. It's been so long since I've seen it. The original Thor, however, I can judge pretty well, and I can safely say this movie is probably like I'd say it's B tier. I think I would say I'd say Thor's B tier. There is some stuff about this movie that I absolutely adore. I love the scenes on Asgard. They're so great. They're so elegant. They're so beautiful. The score sometimes can be so good. Tom Hiddleston's Loki's fantastic. Thor's arc is fantastic. However, when they get to Earth, it is not that good. It really slows the pace down. It wrecks everything. The third act is not good at all. There's so much stuff that I love about this movie, and I want to put it in A tier or maybe even S tier, but it is not that good. It is not, on that level. So because of that, I have to put it in B tier because there's so many problems with it. I've not seen TMNT. I have seen V for Vendetta, and I remember really, really liking it. I gave it an S tier, but now I'd probably give it an A tier because I don't think I loved it that much, I feel like there's some great political ideologies, when it comes to political commentary, I think it does a great job at that. I think V in this movie, he's really chaotic and crazy and interesting at the same time. I love the guy who plays V. He's so good. I love the tragedy, like the tragic romance between the two of them. They have so much chemistry, so much life, and seeing them, not end up together is sad in a way. It's sad. But overall, I really like this movie. I really think it's pretty great. It's like I say. All right, we got Venom. Dun, dun, dun. All right, let me check the chat real quick. All right, I'm guessing there's nobody in here anyways. Yeah, there's still nobody in here. Okay, we're going to continue on. So Venom. Okay, Venom is a movie that I gotta say is pretty not so good. I mean, it's fun and entertaining, so because of that, it barely gets the pass as mildly average. There's so much stuff wrong with this movie, but because it's kind of fun, I'll put it in C tier. Because of how fun it is, it goes to the standards of an average movie, even if it's not very good. So yeah. Captain America: Winter Soldier. This is clearly a really great movie. I don't really remember a lot of the story specifically of what happened. I just remember it being like really well made when it comes to the cinematography, when it comes to the acting, when it comes to the amazing action scenes. I just remember it being so great in every level. Maybe if I rewatch it, it'll be an S tier and it'll be my favorite Marvel movie once again. Right now, I put it in A tier. Okay, Wonder Woman. I remember this movie being pretty good. I think I overhyped it the first time I watched it. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I remember liking it and saying I remember, thinking it was good. I think it's a good movie, but it's not a fantastic movie. It's got some good elements with it. I think Gal Gadot does a pretty good job at playing Wonder Woman. I think Chris Pine is, pretty good. I like their chemistry. And I just remember being, solid. I remember being a solid Wonder Woman film. Okay, next, I think this is X2. Yeah, this is X2. I've not seen this film in a while. I do remember it pretty well. I think I remember being, just kind of good. So because of that, we're going to put it in B tier. Because I think it was kind of good. At least I remember being, like, solid. It's been a while since I've seen it, but we're still going to rank it anyways. Okay, then we got the original X-Men, which I also kind of remember, and I also really just kind of remember for being kind of good as well. I don't know, maybe these X-Men movies are better than I remember them being, but I also just remember this movie being pretty good. I remember really loving the world building, and that's kind of it. I don't remember much else about it. X2, I remember expanded a lot when it came to the political ideologies and such with that, but I don't remember a ton about it, so I think they're both going to go B tier. X-Men The Last Stand. I remember this movie, being pretty bad, kind of messy. I don't think it was terrible. It just wasn't very good. I just had problems with it. I'm going to put it in D tier. X-Men Apocalypse. This movie was just okay. Like, I don't think you can get more okay than X-Men Apocalypse. I don't see why people are like, oh, this is such a bad movie or whatever. It's not. It's just okay. C tier. X-Men Days of Future Past. Now this is what we call an X-Men movie right here. This is what we call an X-Men film. This movie was so good. I love it. I haven't seen it in a while, but I know if I see it again, I'll still say the same thing. This movie, it's almost S tier. I think I'm just going to put it in A tier. It is so great. I love it so much. Fantastic movie. One of the best X-Men movies, probably the best X-Men movie that isn't Deadpool. That says a lot. I feel like overall when it comes down to the story's really great. I love the concept of it being a time travel movie. I just remember it being really great. X-Men First Class. Now this is a movie I remember a decent bit about. I remember really liking and sympathizing with I remember liking, Charles Xavier in the movie. I also remember, liking Magneto. I love the clash between them, seeing their chemistry, seeing them become friends, seeing just them overall together was really great. I really like Kevin Bacon as the villain as well. However, all the other side characters are boring and insanely uninteresting. So because of that, I'm going to put it in B tier because there's some really good things about it. I really like the main three. There's this main three trio that's great. And everyone else is just all Brie Larson's not very good in this movie as well. And just B tier. It's pretty good. Okay, now we got X-Men Origins Wolverine. Have not seen Watchmen. Now I've read the comics for Watchmen. And I can safely say this movie is nothing compared to the comics in any single way. I think it just does a good job at somewhat being reliable to the comics. For the most part, it is reliable to the comics, and it does a good job of being that. However, it lacks a lot of the substance of it. It lacks a lot of the meaning, the points, the ideologies. Because it took, a lot of the chunk of the story for Watchmen, it does, come off as a pretty good movie because of that. However, there is so much in Watchmen that is lacking in the comics because there's so much substance, so much meaning, and so much depth that this movie does not have, that I can't put it any higher than B tier or C tier because of that. Okay, next one, Flash Gordon. Have not seen this movie. I kind of want to see this movie out of pure curiosity, but have not seen it. I don't think I've seen any of these movies, actually. I've not seen Howard the Duck. I've seen Swamp Thing. But I don't really remember much about it. Have not seen The Shadow. Didn't even know this movie existed. Don't know what that is. Have not seen any of the Men in Black movies or Green Lantern. So that is going to be for the video. I know I haven't really, there's really no recent comic book movies on here, but you probably already know my thoughts on pretty much almost all of those ones. But yeah, that's going to be it for the video. I'll see you guys maybe later. Bye.